Hello everyone, welcome back to RCH Builders. So today, I'm not sure if we're going to actually do it, but we're going to get set up at least and get ready to remedy the roof being sagging and dropping off over here. So again, we've stopped it from moving any farther, but when we jack up the roof, this bottom should pull in. At least a good bit. It might not pull in all the way, but it'll pull in a lot and then give us the ability with less pressure coming down on it to pull it in the rest later. But so we're going to be working on taking care of that. And also in the last video you probably saw, I'm sure, but would have noticed this back here. You can see it from the front as well, but it's a lot harder because the front, you're down in the road and the road is downhill, so you don't see it as much. But this is the same thing. This is from that roof basically falling slightly that direction, and the reason it does it about a little more than halfway, maybe about halfway, is because that is where that little wall is that's up top, and it is holding it up at least somewhat. It still sags, but not as bad. So what we'll be doing is we'll get this measurement over here and this one on this side with a transit level, figure out where that ridge is supposed to be, and then work on getting it up where it should be. Now, once that's done, then this back side of this roof would actually be able to be at least tar papered, maybe shingled, depending on how the weather is. So we'll go inside real quick and look at it in there. So in here, of course, this right here, this is the ridge beam. Technically, it's not even really a ridge beam. In newer homes, there would actually be a significant piece of material up there. They did back in the day. It's just a 1x sandwiched in between them just to give them something to land on. So it's not really being able to hold much of anything. But I'm not going to be replacing that because for that I'd have to tear the whole roof off, and shouldn't need to replace it if the roof operates the way it should when it's done. But either way, I'm going to be having to jack up right around underneath there, basically taking this section of the roof and pushing it up and back. And with these collar ties here, when this gets pushed up and back, it should also pull these ones back in. So it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process even just getting set up for this. And that's where I say I might not get to do it today. It might be just a whole day of getting ready, because this does take some time, especially when you're doing it by yourself, if you want to do it correctly and safely. So one of the first things that I'm going to do actually today for getting ready is I'm going to remove all of these right here, because these are kind of in my way. And they're not needed anymore. I was using them to help kind of tie these together a little bit, even though they're tied together with nails up top. But it was help holding these together somewhat at this joint while we had that temporary wall way back here. Now we've got this one here and this one. And if this section ends up falling and coming out right now, it's not going to matter, actually, because I'm going to have to take them and slide them. I was saying I could replace them, but it looks like I'm not going to really need to replace them. I could just take them and slide them over, because you see they come way over here. So they're long enough to span this. They're just too far that direction. But anyways, I'm going to remove these real quick, get those out the way, and then move on to the next step. Alright, so I've got this X bracing in here, and I did it on this wall as well. If there was plaster and sheetrock on these walls still, there'd be no reason to do that really, because the sheetrock or plaster would help hold these walls square. But since there's nothing, I just wanted to add a little something to help out a little bit. Also, I had to real quick go ahead and toenail all of these down onto this, because when I was trying to pull that board down, they were just picking up. And the reason being is, of course, the pressure that's bearing down on these joists is way over here, which basically, if anything, picks up on these anyway. And the only nails we had now was just some straight nails going straight up into them like this. So it's very easy for them to pull up. Instead, I toenailed it down from the top, and then that held it in place while I removed that board. I'll remove that little piece down there later. It's not going to be in my way, so I'm just not going to worry about it right now. Instead, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to see what I can do about getting a 4x4 up there above those collar ties I put in. I'm hoping I can get a nice 12-footer in there. We'll see. I may have to do something a little different. I will also be removing this 1x they've got going up there. That is not really doing anything, especially now at this point in time in the building. It would have been help holding that gable in, help keeping these rafters from racking while they were building it before they put all these 1x slats on. Now that these are on, there's not a problem of happening, and this is going to be in my way for doing the roof jacking, so I'm going to remove it. But for that, I'm going to move y'all up top and myself up top, and we'll see what we can do about getting that 4x4 up there. I'm hoping I can do it without removing collar ties. If I have to remove a couple, I'll have to do it. I'll try and do it slowly, but I'm going to try and just slide it up in there if possible. Alright, so now I've got those 4x4s up there. It was a little bit of a pain. I was going to do just the 12-footer, but then add the other ones later. But I figured while I'm taking the collar ties out to do it, probably best to just go ahead and put the others in. So I've got basically a 4-footer on this end. I went ahead and did the 12-footer in the middle. The reason why is because where they have this ridge split was about right where the 12-footer was going to land. So I didn't want it to do that. So instead I put an 8-footer down there, then the 12, and then I needed like another 4 feet down here. These are not going to butt up against each other. They don't need to. And for the jacking up purposes, that could make stuff difficult. So I'm not even going to try and do that. Instead, I'm simply going to make sure that they land a little bit past an end of where one of the joists are, or rafters are. It's rafters now. Ceiling joists are below us. So now that that's done, the next thing we need to do is cut ourselves a bunch of wedges. So what that is going to be is, if you look up here, you'll see, obviously, because the rafter's going up at an angle, what I need is some wedges that are going to make it so that this 4x4 makes an even contact on when it's picking up. Because if I pick up on it now, it's only going to put like pressure right here, which might simply cause this to roll, and then I'm not going to be able to jack it up because it's going to roll out from under my post I put under it. So I got to cut some wedges to keep that at the angle that I need it to, which is basically flat on the bottom. So that's going to take a little bit to do. I got to figure out what that angle is, get that, and then cut all of those. And I'm not sure how I'm going to fasten them in place just yet, whether I'm going to use nails or screws or what, because I'm probably going to have to use screws because there's a chance that it will split if I shoot it with a nail, but it could also split with a screw. So it just depends on how long they are when I figure it out. Alright, so don't know if you could see that or not. It was the best option that I had to try to make it so you could. But, so I've cut these wedges. And you'll notice, because of the sag in this roof, how there's probably almost a whole 1.5 to 2 inches gap right there. But over here, in the middle, it is touching. So, and that's how much of a sag there is in this roof. By the time you get all the way over there, my high point for a wedge over there, which is why I'm not going to do it until I do the middle at least a little bit. My high point over there is about 4 3/4, and right here it is 1.5 inches. So that means that this roof has dropped at least, and I'm drawing a blank in my head. Anyways, 1.5 and 4 3/4. So it's dropped at least 3 1/4 inches across here, and probably more, because the first one I measured is not technically the outside, which would be where it's set. It would be in some, and it might have already dropped a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch there. So, anyways, we've got this ready. Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be trying to jack up the middle a little bit, not all the way in line just yet, but at least fairly close, and then we'll work away from the edges probably. I don't know, it depends on how it goes. If it goes good, I might jack it all the way into place. Alright, so now that we've got that part up there ready for the middle location anyway, not for the whole thing, but for the middle, gotta get down here ready. So there is not a joist directly under where that 4x4 is. That 4x4 is probably right around about here. And there's a joist here, and there's a joist here. So with no joist here, what we need to do is we need to span those before we start jacking up, or we're not going to be getting a solid location from the ground up. So I've got some pieces of 2x12, some pieces of leftover LVLs, but the most important part I have is I have a 6x6 that I can sit on top of those as well, and that will definitely span, and it'll be sitting on both of those joists. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that set up, and the jack, and then measure from the top of the jack up to the 4x4, and go ahead and get that cut and in place, and then start jacking up that middle section, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so now I've got the post in. It is just barely touching up against it right now. I haven't actually jacked it up. So now we got to be real careful. We got to listen carefully. So I'm going to shut my generator off real quick so I can hear anything, and we got to listen for what's happening as we jack it up. My goal is to jack it up enough so that both ends of this 4x4, the ends actually touch. Then from there, I would like to move my setup and actually do the post about, a little bit more in between at a better position. But I need to get the 4x4 touching those locations first. So I'm not entirely sure how much you'll be able to see from back here, but hopefully you'll be able to see it going up. We'll be listening for, there's going to be some popping and crackling. That is normal. We just got to probably, each time we hear one, I'm going to pause for a moment to see and double check everything, make sure everything's looking good, and then continue to jack up some more. But the most thing you're going to probably be able to see right now is you can see how you can see daylight here. You're going to see that, you should see that slowly close. See, when I'm underneath that, I can't even see that, how much is closing and all that. So I'm having to come back here to be able to get a look at it every so often. I'm not hearing anywhere near as much crackling and popping as I was expecting. And it might be because of all the jacking up we've done from underneath already. It's both given me much more expectation of what I should be hearing in this in the case of this one. And it is... has allowed stuff to already move a lot versus where it would have already been locked in over the years. I'm going to take a look at a few things outside real quick and be right back. I want to see kind of how it's looking out there. And I'm probably also going to, while I'm pausing, I'm going to get a screw and I'm going to fasten my tape measure up to that rim board, not rim board, that board that's going in between the rafters, so that I can get a measurement and know when I'm even slightly close to being at the height I need to be. Because not hearing the popping is not allowing me to visually hear when I'm even getting close or I've gone a good ways. I mean, I swear I've gone a large ways already, but I'm not hearing anything. All right, so from what I'm seeing outside, it looks like it's going good. I actually have closed that... where it was falling forward towards the front, I've closed that almost, it looks like close to halfway. It's at least a third of the way. So, I mean, it is jacking up exactly the way I wanted it to. It's just doing it much easier than I was expecting, which is, it's good. I'm not complaining by any means. It's just, like I say, it's going a whole lot easier and simpler than I was expecting. So I was thinking something was going wrong and that it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to. It was possibly pulling something apart. So anyways, I'm going to either screw my tape measure and or nail it. I'm not sure which is going to work better. I'll see when I get up there so I can figure out when I'm really close to where I want to be. With it going this easily, I will probably get this 4x4 all the way up where I want it today. All right, so when I measured over there, I'm needing to be at 214 3/8. I'm going to write it down over here where I can see it easier. So 214 3/8, see where we are. Holy moly. We got 8 inches to go. I don't know if this jack will do it in one go or if I'll have to reset. But I got another jack, so. There's some popping. Is it closing up? All right, I'm gonna move this down. You're not really seeing much there. I might end up putting all this a little bit faster because you're not hearing as much popping as I was thinking you're going to. But we'll see what happens in a little bit. That's why. That one won't go up anymore. All right, that is where I'm going to be leaving it for today. It has moved a lot. We still have to move this ends as well, of course. But the middle itself has definitely moved a lot. And I don't want to keep moving the middle until I can jack up more of the ends at this point. I can't remember where I said I was before, but right now I am only about 4 inches off from being where it should be height-wise. So I mean, like I said, I have definitely moved it a lot. And we'll go look outside real quick. So of course it still needs to move some, but you can see it has almost closed that gap down through there. So as we keep going up, that's the reason for putting in those collar ties. The collar ties, at this point anyways, the collar ties are not generally for this purpose of keeping this from pulling away. That's not their technical purpose, but they do help. And that is the only reason that me jacking up the roof in there is pulling this in, is because those collar ties are holding them at that location and therefore pulling in and twisting this rafter in and up at the ends. Now we'll look at the back real quick. So there we go. Looking at it from back here, you can see it looks like that plane is almost perfect in the middle. Now again, we still have to jack up the sides, but that location right there looks almost good. You can definitely tell the difference between now and where it was. You can also, of course, see where the shingles and stuff have been popped up from doing this. That's the reason I did not have any plans to do the roofing on this roof until we were done with this part, because it's going to pop up the shingles, it's going to pop out nails, just all kinds of nail pops will be happening. But so for finishing this up, what I'm going to do is when I come down the next time, I will be bringing a few things for material wise. Let me try and get it where you can see it really good overall. So here you can really see at this angle, I think you can see it really good. You can see the fact that this has definitely gone up from here and here, but you can see if you look at these two outer points, it's still down from those. And that's where, like I said, I need to go up another 4 inches. So what I'm going to be doing is when I come down the next time, I'm going to bring some more 4x4s to be able to do it, because I need to be able to move my jacks and reset them, move them a couple more times. And I will probably also need to either build up underneath them more. I'll probably bring at least a 6x6, maybe a couple, to be able to help move those, because I don't technically have a piece of 6x6. I thought I had more pieces of 6x6 here, but I don't have a piece for my second jack, and I'd rather it be on a 6x6 than a 4x4 piece. It's just, it covers the entire base. So I'll be bringing some 6x6s, at least one, maybe two, and I will bring probably 4 or 5 more 4x4s, because even with putting the 6x6 underneath there, as you saw as I went up, because the roof doesn't go up quite as much as the jack because of pressure, weight, you're pushing down on the floor, you're pushing down on other things. So I will probably need to cut a couple more 4x4s for jacking it up to go in stages. So as I jack it up until one 4x4 bottoms out in the jack, and then I need to move to a longer 4x4 to continue jacking it. But if I can get this, I think if I can set the middle, put some 4x4s, I'm going to leave the jacks there, holding it up the way it is right now. And then if I can set the next time I come down some 4x4s just underneath those spots, some new ones to hold it where it is right now, I can release my jacks, and I will probably start from the ends and work my way in at that point. That'll, I think, be the best way to finish doing this. I thought there wasn't much popping at the beginning. I guess it's just I didn't realize how far down it was and how much there needed to be for pressure. So now you're definitely hearing a lot more popping and all that stuff. So, but anyways, definitely making progress. We can see some, but this is a very slow technical process to be able to do this without messing up the entire roof and bringing the roof down on top of us. So hope you've enjoyed watching. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you the next time.